be based on
right.
child development.
So in terms of the co-parenting, I mean, I think it's very essential that that the parents they do some reading about child development, so when they see their child doing something that he's never or she's never done before, they don't like throw their hands up and say, "Oh my God, what is he doing now?" Well, if you read the book, you'll know that this is the average expectable behavior at 1 or 2 or 3 or something. This is what they do. It's interesting, Ricardo. We buy a new computer. The first thing that we do is take out the instructions. We buy a new car, and right there in the glove compartment, there's a book this big, and boy, we can't get enough of, okay, this light's for that light is for that. And we have a child's life that's dependent on us for, healthy development. Oh, I'll just do what my parents did. And the parents...
I'm glad you mentioned that, because the problem with doing things the way that your parents did it is that you are growing up, or you grew up, so let's just say your children are growing up in a world, in a different world in which you grew up.
It's not only a different world, but what we know now about child development is so much more complex. Right. Research in the last 30 years is exponentially more than they ever did with kids before, our parents. Yeah. So our parents did things because they did it by the seat of their pants, or what they learned from their parents, because that was all the information that was available.
There wasn't anymore,
but now we got kids that are uber kids, that they are really sophisticated and smarter, and they know more than we ever thought that they were capable of knowing, and they can do things that we never thought they were capable of learning at stages in development that are way, way earlier than they taught us things.
Right. And so I think that, when you, if I think that if I ever hear a father say, well, this is how I was brought up, I think the moment that you say that, the moment that you hear you say something like that, it is the moment that you have to stop and think.
Right.
And you have to think, I'm probably wrong about this. Meaning, and you know what? Most of us didn't like the way that we were brought up.
Well, the way that you said, if somebody says, well, this is the way that I was brought up, it already sounds defensive, and it means that they've run out of ammunition, Why if it's like discipline, if you're still hitting your child, spanking them, or if you're still doing that, what that means is that you have run out of ways to discipline your child, and this is out of exasperation.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say or how to behave that's going to help him change his behavior, so I think maybe we'll just hit him. So, because that's what my father did, and what, I deserved it, and he did the right thing.
We should talk more about spanking, and that's a whole other conversation. Let's go ahead and let me ask you the last question here. Overall, does co-parenting impact on the child positively, or can it confuse him or her?
Well, that's a good question. My experience with the fathers that I've worked with, and what I've seen in the workshops that I've done, and when parents actually learn to respect each other, and they carry out that relationship in the house, I think I've said this before, but the notion of child care to me is not about how well you know how to bathe your child. It's not about how often you sing to it or read to it. Child care to me means the creation of an environment in which the child sees a cooperative relationship unfolding in the modeling experience, that the child is able to pick up a vibe where the parents are loving towards each other, and there's a basic sense of trust. And now this child has been given a sense of security, and an ability to roam around, to do what he wants to do without fear that if he does something that doesn't please them, that they're going to demonstrate anger and disappointment and punishment. So he feels safe. And you can't give a child a more important environment than safety, because from safety comes trust. And from trust comes curiosity. If he trusts what he's seeing and who he's with, he's going to start attempting to do more and more things, because he knows if he screws it up, he's not going to get punished. A good parent is going to say, gee, what were you trying to do? And maybe we can figure out a strategy together of how to address this the next time you do it.
So overall, good co-parenting doesn't harm the child or confuse them at all?
No. Well, the word good, of course, it means that it really can't harm them. And I think one of the things, too, is that, kids who grow up with one parent, they have to put all their eggs in one basket. So when they have a fight with mom or dad,
Right.
whoever that singular parent is, they have nobody to go to for soothing or for
Right.
confirmation of that
Right.
particular opinion, and they don't feel that they have the right to challenge it. You know, parents aren't always right, and when kids feel that you have not been just with them,
Right.
or too righteous about something, and their feelings are hurt, they should have the other parent to go to, not to manipulate them, to say, Mommy said this, and what do you think, Dad? But it's to say, you know, Dad, I don't think Mommy understands me, or I don't think Daddy understands me. What do you think? So they have an alternate to go to.
And I want to add to that that quite often we are wrong.
You know, and it's a great parent who can fess up to his kid and say, you know, kid, I got it wrong, and I apologize. And that's it. You can't. There's no better model than that.
Right.
I mean, and then you know what? It helps them understand that not only their parents, who they see as authority figures, and like we're in the beginning, we're like gods to these kids.
Right.
They really think. And if you can say, you know, kid, I'm imperfect. Wow, that's like it tells them that.
Yeah.
Sometimes the bottom falls out, and we got to figure out a strategy to fix it. So let's do this together. So they learn to be forgiving, which
Right.
is a very important value to teach a child.
Right. Okay, so let's go ahead and review one last time what we've talked about. And what we have here in this co-parenting workshop is that co-parenting gives the child added support. Parents find mutual support, give stress reduction and healthier kids. And then lastly, be alert to child's development stage. Right, that's something that you talk a lot about, and you connect that with educating ourselves, so that
Right.
we know what to expect and how not to be too. Because ultimately, when we don't know which stage they are in,
Right.
we're going to be rough and difficult. And
Okay, you know what? And when we don't understand what they're doing, it makes us anxious.
right,
And when we get anxious, the tendency to take it out on our loved ones who say, what is that kid doing? And she say, what do you mean, what is that kid doing?
Right.
Anxiety is a very contagious feeling.
right,
And if you don't know what your child is doing, and the other one doesn't know what the child is doing, and there's mutual anxiety, the kid is going to pick up this anxiety and get frightened, and then you know, it's like it's like the domino effect, basically. And what's going to happen is the child sees his parents get anxious, and he stops getting curious. He stops taking the initiative. He stops being adventurous because he sees that it has a negative effect on the parents. So the whole thing falls apart if you don't know what this kid is doing.
right. Okay, all right. Well, we've come to the end of this particular workshop. For other workshops like it and additional information, you can go to thebetterdadworkshop.org. And that's it for us. Charles, thank you so much. I love the conversation today.
Okay, it's a good one. Yes, thank you.